Here's what I need you to do, guys. Take your hat off. You got one on. We're in the building. I need you to sit up. A lot of you guys have been lounging around. I kind of noticed that on video. As I've been watching some of these and posting them, you need you to sit up tall. You can lean against something, just sit up tall. Want to make sure you're paying attention, okay? Again, showing respect to guys that are talking. Make sure we're doing that, okay? Today, we're going to talk about what it takes to be a great, good, I'd say great teammate. What does it take to be a great teammate? You need to have your book out, something to write with. I want you to take some notes. As much as you think you can remember everything, you usually can't. What does it take to be a great teammate? Okay, in your paper, I want you to write down 2 things you think it takes to be a great teammate. And this is your opinion. Can't be a wrong answer. 2 things you think it takes to be a great teammate. Again, don't overthink it. First things that pop into your mind from experiences you've had. Write them down. And I'm going to give you my 2, and we'll kind of see if those things align a little bit. All right, let's spit out a few. What'd you come up with? A couple things. Don't worry about it, just kind of spit them out.
Hold people accountable.
Selflessness. Hold people accountable. That's huge. What else? Motivating. Be encouraging. Those are good. Huh? Learning how to function as a team. Those are big.
Communicate.
Communicate. Ooh, man, that's a good one.
Trust.
Trust. Very good. Those are all great ones. Anybody else got anything else? Leadership, hold people accountable. I've heard that one a few times. That's great. Good. Huh? Integrity. That's big. That's a good personal deal. I like that. But again, not a wrong answer. If you talk to 1,000 people, you'll get 1,000 different definitions on what they think it takes to be a great leader. Again, I think maybe the 2 that I got, in my opinion, kind of encompass all that a little bit, okay? First thing I think it takes to be a great leader is you've got to be a great teammate. It goes into being the same thing if I cross those words up. You've got to be able to sacrifice. I want you to make sure you write those down. Those are mine. Or yours, maybe. Maybe you wrote it down too. But you've got to be able to sacrifice. Not always fun. Human nature, that's against human nature to want to sacrifice things. You want to be comfortable. You want to do the things that you want to do. Okay, that's all the stuff that you want. I mean, it makes you feel good. Okay, you got to be able to sacrifice that. All the blood and the sweat and the tears that we always talk about, you guys have got to be willing to sacrifice that to be a great team, to be a great teammate. You got to be able to do all that stuff. You got to sacrifice time. That one's hard because there's other things that I want to be doing. There's other things that you want to be doing. Okay? Sacrifice. You've got to sacrifice that stuff. Is everybody in here as strong as they want to be? You as fast as you want to be? You have all the skill that you need to be the best player that you can be at whatever you're doing? Absolutely not. So why are you not here after school? Good question, right? Why are you not doing something about it? That's hard. You've got to sacrifice that stuff. And again, it's against human nature. Human nature means I want to be static. I want to feel good about myself. It's hard to go out there and squat till I want to throw up. It's hard to go run till I want to pass out. Those things are hard. They're not easy. That's why people don't do this. But you've got to be willing to sacrifice all that stuff, your comfort and all that stuff to go out there and be the best teammate that you can be, to make us the best team that we can be. That stuff's hard. And here's a tough one right here that you guys, again, maybe you haven't got to this point in your life yet, but you've got to be able to sacrifice things that you don't need. And the one that is hardest is to sacrifice those people you don't need in your life. That's hard. These are my buddies since forever. But you know what? This dude don't come to school. He don't come to work out. He's doing bad things afterward. Sorry, buddy, you got to go. Whenever you pull your head out of your rear end, maybe we can be friends again. But until then, I got stuff that I want to do. That's hard. Because you got your buddies, and you love them. You got to get rid of them sometimes. Stuff's not easy. You've got to be able to do that. Habits. You got to be able to sacrifice bad habits. Okay? If you don't like getting up in the morning and you're late to school all the time, you got to do something about it. If you don't like doing homework, you ain't going to have the GPA you need to go play in college. Ain't going to happen. You got to sacrifice those things. Get rid of those things that you don't need. You got to be able to do that. That's huge. So one was sacrifice. The next one is the hardest one, I think, because y'all don't like to hear this word. Obedience. You got to be obedient. Y'all are in a phase in your life where it is absolutely natural to kind of buck the system a little bit. trying to learn how to be a grown-up. You're not there yet. Don't worry. You'll get there. But you're trying to learn how to do that. So you're trying to get away from being obedient. You're trying to do things on your own. But I'm telling you this, if you'll spend a little bit more time being obedient to certain things that we'll talk about here in a minute, it will get you there a lot faster. You'll learn how to be successful and independent and all that good stuff a lot sooner the right way, and you won't make a bunch of the same mistakes that people are telling you that you're going to make, okay? So some of the things you got to be obedient with. This, again, it's not a popular word. It's hard for you guys right now, okay? People want to be independent, but you got to be obedient to your goals, things that you want. If you want to do certain things, I want to go to college, I want to be a great football player, you got to be obedient to that. It means you got to sacrifice. That's a hard word, but you got to do it, okay? You got to be obedient to yourself, to God. Let's not forget about that guy. You got to be obedient to what that said. It's easy to go out and drink and be around with the certain kind of people and all that good stuff. That's easy. But you got to get rid of that. You got to be obedient to your goals, to what you know is right. You got to do those things. You got to do them now. You got to be obedient to your team. Your team tells you got to do certain things to be successful. You got to do that. And here's the hard one: is be obedient to your coaches. There's a lot of people outside of this room that will tell you that we are wrong. They're going to tell you. They're going to tell you in the community that coach ain't doing things the right way. Wasn't the right play. Wasn't the right defense. You should be starting. Nobody knows you better than us. I can promise you that. How much time do we spend together? Too much. Holy moly, too much. But we're doing it from a place with love. I'm telling you that. So don't let people outside of this room tell you to not do the things that we're asking you, to not be obedient. You've got to do that stuff. You've got to trust in us that we're putting you in the right spot to be successful. And if you don't, there's not a whole lot else we can do for you. There's not a right offensive play in a certain situation. It's the one that I call, or the one that whoever calls. That's the right play because you make it right. So be obedient to those things, and it will make you successful. If you learn to do that stuff, you'll be successful sooner. You'll be independent sooner. You'll learn how to be a good leader because you've got to be a good servant. You've got to learn that part of it to be a great leader. And that's one thing you'll learn as you get older. Those things are super hard, okay? So those are the two things that I thought make you guys just as good of a teammate, I think, as you can be. And it really encompasses a lot of things, okay? And I'm going to finish with a little story that I heard. And I love this story. This is from D.W. Rutledge. He was a head coach at Conference Judson, late 80s, early 90s. And this team, they were it. They were the Cadies. They were the Allens. They were the one. They were stomping mud holes in people before everything got dry. They were it. And this guy was a dude. He was super intense. And I love him for that. I love good intense coaches. And this guy told this story. They had a big boot camp. During that, they had about a week-long character talks where they wouldn't do it like we do, but they'd make you sit in a room for a whole week and we'd go over all these character talks. And right before he turned these guys loose to go to boot camp where they were about to get smoked till their eyeballs bled, okay, he would tell you this story. He'd tell it every year. These guys get really juiced up for it, okay? He would tell you that there was an Arabian prince a long, long time ago, okay? And he said, you know what, I want to find the finest horses in the world. So he took 100 servants and he sent them out all over the world to find the finest horse that they could find. Just the most beautiful, fastest moving one they could find. He sent them out and they came back after a year from all over the world. And they brought 100 horses, okay? And these horses came in and they put them through drills and they ran them to see who was the fastest, cut them and did this and all this kind of good stuff. But one drill they did all the time is whenever they got ready to feed them or get them water or whatever, he'd blow a horn. And the horn meant that those horses had to come and he'd give them food, and that's how he trained them, and that was important. So he kept going. So after a year, he took all these horses, and they're just trained. They know everything, man. They know that they got to run this way, and these are the fastest animals they could find. And every time they blew that horn, he knew they had to come. They had to come to him, and that was it. Okay, so he took them out after a year, and they pinned them up in the desert. And we're in Arabia. It's pretty hot up there. Okay, so he pinned them up about 100 feet from a water hole. Okay. So they're in this pen and they can't get out. And he leaves them there for 3 days. And it's hot, okay? And they're sweating and these horses are in there fighting each other and pawing. 3 days, they didn't have any water. They were pinned up in there. So these horses are ready to go. And just when he knew they couldn't take any more, he took one of the servants, lifted the gate. What do you think those horses did? Took off to that water, right? And right before they got to it, he blew the horn. What do you think happened? 5 out of the 100. 5 out of the 100 stopped. They thought about it for a second, but they stopped. and they came to their master. They came to him. Okay? Those 5 horses, the ones that honored it, that were obedient, that sacrificed what they wanted, those 5 horses were the ones he used to start the entire line of Arabian horses. Those 5 right there. And if you know, I don't know a whole lot about horses, but I know that when you say Arabian horses, those are some of the finest ones out there. Expensive, most beautiful, can run, most sought after. But those 5 were the beginning of that line. Probably the greatest line of horses in the world. So what does that tell you? How important is it to learn how to be obedient and sacrifice so that you guys can get and be that foundation of starting something special there? Now, we've had some great football teams and some great players, but is it the dynasty, the legacy that you want to leave? Do you want to take it to the next level? Do you want to be part of that? I don't need many. I need about 22 dudes that are willing to give up all that stuff to get us where we want to be. All right? That is it. That's what I need you to do. So every time you come here from now on, I need you to use whatever it is you take that get you pumped and motivated to get you hyper-focused on all the things that you guys have got to get done. And I need it. I need it out of your butt. Okay? Thank you. Appreciate it.